Hello, all you club owners and simple mortician boys out there. Today, we look at a war film. Or at least a film that seems to be at war with itself. 2006's Idlewild. Apparently no one working on this could agree on tone, plot, or even which OutKast album to play songs off of. What could have been a whimsical Prohibition-era hip-hop based film turns into a boring pile of mush early in the runnings and then goes on for another 2 hours, so bear with us as we bear with this film. Here at Crushed Celluloid. Alright, today we're talking about 2006's Idlewild, the most entertaining movie that I've ever been this bored by.
No. That's the thing.
Man.
There's so much to like about this movie and so much good in it, but it is fucking boring.
Oh, it could easily lose at least half an hour. If
It's
not
2
40
hours
minutes.
long. There's no need for this. This should be a 90-minute movie.
Well, you know what I found out that I didn't realize, that you probably also found out, but that this movie was originally conceived as a music video that they eventually just fully fleshed out into a movie. With the same guy that directed a lot of the OutKast music videos.
Yeah, Brian Barbs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, this is OutKast. It's a 2006 movie. If you don't remember, it could have been so awesome. I love OutKast. OutKast is amazing.
Apparently it was also it was released by HBO Films, and I think it was originally supposed to be for HBO, but then they decided to go with a theatrical release because OutKast was a big deal. So I don't know if this is originally going to be more of like a mini-series on HBO, because that would make sense for the length, like maybe a 2-part thing or something, but no need for it to be this long and this boring when there's so many good scenes in it.
Well, I mean, you get the idea from it that they went into and they're like, you know what, let's make a black version of Moulin Rouge.
Exactly.
And it comes off like that, and that would have been awesome, but they decided to add so much more story than was necessary. Because what I think happened is both Andre 3000 and Big Boy, who make up OutKast together, both wanted a story, and Andre's just like, I want this story about this kid who's musically talented, but he's stuck in this small town. And Big Boy's like, I want a story about a bootlegger who shoots people. And they're like, well
both
we
of
can't
those are
make
good.
Yeah, both the stories would be good, but there's nowhere in the middle for them to meet. And so you just end up with two movies just cutting back and forth between each other.
Well, not only that, they try to combine it, and in doing so, they add a lot of filler and a lot of extra shit that is unnecessary. And like trying to make them friends and trying to like fully flesh out and give them their own complete story instead of just like maybe combining those elements together.
I mean, would you even say that they really try to make them look like friends? Because it only happens like 2 or 3 times during the movie.
Well, I mean, they tell us. They tell us they're friends. And we know they're friends because they're an OutKast together. So that's a given.
That's about all we know of their friendship.
And also, the main thing I want to bring up is like, what the fuck was it about like the early to mid 2000s where we had to put Macy Gray in everything? Because she was in this, she was in Spider-Man, she was in fucking Training Day. Like, why were we putting Macy Gray in movies?
I think she was just drunkenly stumbling around the movie lots, and she just ended up in a bunch of movies that way. Because I have never believed a drunk heckler more than I believe that Macy Gray is she is a natural as a drunk heckler. It is amazing.
People just like bust into the film set starting to record, and all of a sudden Macy Gray is there just acting like she's supposed to be there.
Hey guys, remember that song I made? That's my Macy Gray impression.
Oh, I got one from Training Day. You ain't no police. That's my Macy Gray in Training Day.
I dig it. Another interesting thing about this movie is it came out in conjunction with an album of the same title. I don't know if you know this. Would you like to harbor a guess at how many of the songs in this movie are actually from that album?
Well, I would, of course, want to say all of them, but I have a feeling it's none of them.
Well, give me a number out of 12.
There
are 12 songs in this movie.
I would say 2.
5. You lowballed it.
Oh, I did. I didn't want to go over.
No, most of the songs are from Speakerbox / The Love Below.
Well, see, that's the thing. So they just re-recorded the songs for that album? Like, why would they just move those songs to the next album?
Oh no, they're not on Idlewild the album. They're
most of the songs in the movie are from Speakerbox.
Yeah, they are not. If you bought the Idlewild album after seeing Idlewild and like, man, some of those songs were really awesome, you would be very disappointed because those songs are not on the album.
You would have to buy Speakerbox to get the Idlewild soundtrack.
Yes, you would have to find out later that in fact they were all mostly from the album before.
Well, see, that's weird though, is because the working title of the movie originally was Speakerbox. So that kind of makes sense. And I guess maybe they decided to change it and then put out a new album to go with it, but already had most of the songs from the last album on.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that Idlewild, I just re-listened to it today. It's a really awesome album. Like, I think it would have really stood out on its own if it didn't come out in conjunction with this lackluster movie that nobody liked for good reason.
And I will have to say, Brian Barber, like, his... Oh yeah, it's not Barbs, it's Barber. I just write my R's funny. But anyway, like his music video direction came in handy. Like he does a great fucking job with this movie.
Yeah, the parts that are musical, which are far too few and far between.
They are, but also just a lot of the weird visual tics he does. Like at first it just confused me, but I actually ended up really digging it. Like a lot of the weird slow-mo things and with kind of things in the foreground and background changing position and growing bigger and smaller. Like even during the opening credits, it threw me off, but yeah, I kind of began to dug it as the movie went on. Like there's a lot of really cool scenes, and it is mostly during the musical numbers, but it works.
Yeah, for the most part. I will say one thing I noticed this time watching the movie, because I have seen this before, and one thing I noticed was the lighting is really bad at times. Like, sometimes the lighting is way too... Like, he tries to go for this neo-noir feel, and, like, there's this bunch of shadows, but the shadows have no shape, so it's, like, it's missing everything that makes noir interesting as a visual. Like, with just the, like, coming from German existentialism and everything's kind of boxy. And, like, you like, for an example, like, the blinds just opening up so slits just open up lights on someone's eyes. Instead, he just obscures, like, entire sides of people's faces. It's like he wanted to do noir without understanding what makes noir interesting at times.
He had heard of it. It's like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm going to try that.
He'd heard talk of people using shadows in movies.
And I will say that I also saw this movie, and I'm fairly certain that we watched this together many years ago. Because when we talked about doing this, I was like, I distinctly remember watching this movie, but I remember nothing about it. And even while watching it, like, a little bit came back to me, but not much. And that's because this movie is ultimately extremely forgettable, even though it's pretty good at times.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's not much else to talk about, so I guess we'll get into it, and how promising this movie is, even from the opening, where it's this strange, like, you start closing in on a record, and then a needle gets put down on it, and then you just go further into the record, and all of a sudden a film strip comes out in the grooves of the record. It's this interesting metaphor about a film through music and all this other stuff. And
it's a cool bookend, because they do that at the end, too. It comes back out of the record at the end of the movie.
Oh, yep, that's right, yeah. And then there's just a bunch of, like, flappers and things, and just this cool, it's a throwback to like Prohibition days, so I guess 1920s, and just it'll take these black and white photos, but it'll start enlarging just certain sections of them, like really, really cool, interesting visuals, and just it looks like it's gonna be this really off the wall, like experimental almost kind of movie, like where like it reminded me of something that oh man, the guy who did Eternal Sunshine, Michael Gondry, might do. Yeah. Like, the beginning really reminds me of a Michael Gondry film, like one of his more lighthearted ones. And it does not follow through on that promise at all.
It really doesn't. Like, the most interesting parts are during the musical segments, and that's where it shines. But then everything else it crams in is just so cliche and boring that it just drags the film down.
Yeah, and actually the opening scene is the only, like, one of the few times we ever see Andre and Big Boy interact together, and it's as they are children, and they're still not really interacting with each other. Essentially, we're led to believe that their whole friendship is based around them looking up women's skirts at funerals, and Andre letting Big Boy borrow his father's hearse to bootleg booze.
Pretty much the basis of their friendship is, Andre 3000's character, Percival, is kind of, beaten down by his dad, not physically, just more mentally. But, he doesn't have a life, he doesn't do anything exciting, and he meets Rooster, Big Boy's character, who kind of shows him this life and gets him into trouble and has him do interesting things. And, I guess for Rooster, Percival kind of evens him out a little bit, and he also gets to, use him to his advantage in a way. But it's kind of like they balance each other out in a way. But again, throughout most of the rest of the movie, we just see them kind of like pass in the halls and like acknowledge each other, and that's about it for their friendship.
That's pretty much it. It's so strange. You're supposed to take it on good faith that no, they're friends, and somehow it's gonna pay off in the movie, but it doesn't. None of it matters.
Not really until the end, like probably within the last 10 to 15 minutes, that's when like it seems like they have this great friendship. But throughout the rest of the movie, they're just kind of going on about their own separate stories without much interaction with each other.
You would, if you had missed the opening, you would be forgiven for thinking that they are not actually friends, and the whole movie is about Andre trying to get a Big Boy's good graces so he can be the musician of the club. Because the first time they interact with each other when they're not children, it's after Andre does his first performance at this really rowdy club, and everybody's throwing bottles, and they force him to go on when he's not prepared, and he brings out his own music.
Or Black Roadhouse.
Yes, pretty much Black Roadhouse. And he ends up having to run back in the hall and vomiting, and Big Boy passes him. He's like, "Thanks for warming him up for me, kid."
Yeah, he just like taps him on the shoulder, then keeps walking. That's not how you treat a friend.
No, that's how you would treat someone that's setting up like this Showgirls kind of rivalry, just to go to Showgirls, because it's black Showgirls too.
Well, you can tell Andre has way more invested in the friendship than Big Boy does.
I don't think the friendship matters to either of them. Like, it doesn't.
But they kind of save each other at the end. Like,
yeah, I guess. Like, I mean, I already forgot the ending. Like, we watched this 2 days ago, and I am already forgetting large chunks of this film.
That's why I remembered none of it when we went back to rewatch it. Like, there were certain little moments and things I was like, oh yeah, this kind of seems familiar. But even actually having seen the entire movie before, I remember nothing. Not even, like, the movie is so boring at times and so just lackluster that even the songs and some of the musical numbers are great. I had no recollection of them whatsoever.
Yeah, no. I will say that and talking about Andre, I skipped over Macy Gray's performance as a very drunk songstress, which you'd think would come back more during the course of the film also, but it doesn't. But she has a really good number. And I don't know. Why isn't this movie better?
I don't know. It should be. It really should be. And it had so much potential, but it's squandered on what turns out to just be a really cliched movie. Like, it just hits all the beats that it's supposed to. And also, strangely enough, maybe it's just because we watched this last week, but I saw so many similarities and parallels between this and Graffiti Bridge. It kind of scared me a little bit.
No, Big Boy's story is exactly... Well, he doesn't start off as much... as much of a religious guy, but Big Boy's character arc is getting over the pleasures of the flesh and getting to Jesus and coming back to his family.
Well, and so is Andre's. Like, they both have half of Prince's story in Graffiti Bridge.
That's
because
true.
Andre has the lady that ends up, like, spoilers, but ends up dying to, like, save him.
Yeah.
Whose name is Angel.
That's true.
Like, I saw so many weird similarities. I was like, man, we watched these two movies too close together. We should have spaced these out some.
Black filmmakers, get some more material for your musical movies, because they are running together.
Are we making a month out of this? Is this what's happening? Are there any more movies we can find?
I bet they have the same exact story. There's this one when Andre has to take over the club after Macy Gray gets off and she's all drunk and stuff. One of the band members, as he's like pulling out his music, is like, "Man, I hope they don't start throwing bottles." And immediately there is just a breaking bottle on the stage. It's like, that's awesome. They took that as a cue.
Yeah, he jinxed us.
Yeah.
Also, this is a movie I would hate to watch while tripping on any kind of hallucinogen, because it is fucking freaky at times. And I don't think we talked about this yet, but it starts in the beginning, is that Rooster has a flask that I guess was given to him by, like, his dad or somebody.
No, his uncle, Ving Rhames.
Yeah, his uncle. But yeah, it has a rooster on it, and the rooster talks to him throughout the movie. It moves and talks. It's like a weird trippy sequence every time the rooster thing is there. I don't know, it's fucking scary. It's a little scary.
It is. Well, it's also supposed to be the comic relief, because this movie takes itself way too seriously. But it's just like, hey man, come on, take a drink from me, come on, cuz. Like, it's just weird.
It's bad and it's racist. I don't know why. I don't know why. Also, there's another moment in the beginning of this movie when we go the time jump from when they're kids to when they are now adults, but obviously nothing has changed, and it's totally a Forrest Gump graffiti bridge moment, because there is like a CGI butterfly like fluttering in the wind, and then it leads to the time jump. Yeah.
I will also say, I don't know what ages this movie is trying to say they are, but the jump between them being like 10 and them being 30, I'm pretty sure Prohibition had ended in between that time.
Yeah, it didn't go on for that long.
So I'm wondering if if Andre 3000 is really supposed to be playing like he's 18 or something.
Well, I think so. I think he's supposed to be young, because even his love interest, Angel, when we see like her headstone at the end of the movie, she was only 21 years old.
Yeah.
So I think they're supposed to be like late teens, early 20s, maybe.
But in reality, they are at least 30.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
At this point in time.
But, it was a different time, man. You aged a lot quicker. People died when they were like 40.
That's true. They only had like 15 years left.
Exactly. By the time you were 18, you looked like you were 37.
I know. All right. And then Terrence Howard shows up. He's awesome.
He is, but man, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like hindsight or what, but is it just me, or does Terrence Howard just automatically look like a douchebag and always look like, whenever he has any lines of dialogue, doesn't he always look like he's about to cry?
He has such a serious gravitas to him. I don't know why they thought he would fit in this film. Like, I feel like adding Terrence Howard is what turned this movie from like a campy Moulin Rouge thing to be like, oh fuck, we gotta act like this is Boardwalk Empire now, even though.
And I mean, he's good in the movie, and he makes a very intimidating and good villain, but it's just something about when he gets really emotional and angry, he just seems like he's about to cry, and I just kept thinking that maybe like he must be thinking about his career like 5 years from now. And he's just he knows he's on the downturn, so he's just like, oh fuck, I'm in the OutKast movie. Don't cry, Terrence. Don't cry. It's gonna be okay. You got Iron Man coming up. That's good. That's gonna get your career right up there. Oh.
Terrence Howard is due for a comeback. That man is amazing.
No, he is. He is a really good actor, and that's the thing, is that he had kind of a slow rise, because he had a very good career, because he was all the way back to like Dead Presidents. I remember him in that. Yeah, like he has had a lot of good roles, but I think it wasn't until like the whole thing about like Hustle and Flow and Iron Man where he kind of got big and then immediately like went down.
Yeah, it's same thing with Cuba Gooding Jr. But Cuba Gooding Jr. made really bad movies.
He did. He went from winning an Oscar to doing like Boat Trip, which I suggested we do for an episode.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Boat Trip. We can totally do Boat Trip.
Fuck yes, I'm happy now.
The death of gay jokes in movies is probably what that symbolizes. I don't know. I haven't seen it. Oh, it has fucking, who is it? Horatio Sands. Yeah, that guy. That guy used to be famous too.
Oh, he still is. He's still, I mean, he's not as famous. He's not on Saturday Night Live anymore, but he still does stuff. He has a podcast that's really good. It's called The Horatio. Oh, huh. Yeah, it's on the Earwolf Network. It's really good.
Cool. Sorry. I might check it out.
I like Horatio Sands.
I have not heard that name in years. So, Ving Rhames is getting out of the bootlegging business. Faison Love,
who is amazing.
He's amazing. He is, you know him. He's a fat, cantankerous black man in everything he is in. He's also bald.
Oh, I think even this year, I think he was in Chris Rock's Top 5 playing the exact same kind of character, just in the present day.
Awesome.
He was really good in it, too. But yeah, he basically just played this character, but in 2014.
I can dig it. And I could anyway. So Terrence Howard shoots both Ving Rhames and Faison Love to take, and then kind of tries to take over the church, which is the club that this movie revolves around, which essentially Rooster is second in line to, so he takes on all the debts, and that's the crux of this movie, or half of the crux of this movie.
Pretty much, yeah. Terrence Howard is the bad guy. Like, Ving Rhames is the big boss. He's getting out of the business, and he's trying to get Faison Love's character to buy him out so that he can keep getting the hooch to his club, so he can just, live happy and free. But, Terrence Howard, doing like he does, becomes the bad guy and kills both of them. And then, Rooster gets the club, Terrence Howard has the hooch line, and they butt heads.
And I will note that Terrence Howard is technically only the villain for half of this movie, because Andre 3000's story, his enemy is his father, essentially, and his small-town life. And really, the two stories don't meet until the end.
Yeah, that's very true. And also, I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that plays Andre's father. I think it's like Ben Vereen. But he's like kind of an old school actor, but he is fucking awesome in this movie. I think that Andre's storyline with his father, I think that's kind of, minus the musical numbers, I think that's the better part of this movie. I like that story a lot better than I liked Big Boy's half of the story.
It would have been if they had just stuck any sort of landing. If they had just sat down beforehand and like, okay, guys, what kind of movie do you want this to be? Let's hold that tone throughout the movie. This movie does not hold a tone. Well, it's just.
And I'll rephrase that, because I don't really care about the him and Angel story. I don't care about that whole love thing and him getting out of the town. It's mostly just any scenes they have together, like him and his father, and especially the backstory with his mom and everything. That's actually kind of a good story. That was very enjoyable. And if they had maybe just more stuck with that, and then maybe, because Big Boy was using his dad's, hearse to bring the hooch and everything like that, if they brought the bootlegger angle in that way, and maybe focused on that angle of the story and dropped the love interest and all the chase scenes and ridiculous things involving Terrence Howard, this could have been a better movie, but they just went so overboard cramming everything into this movie.
Well, the way you make this movie is you have a central conceit that is bringing both Big Boy and Andre together. And that's like half the movie. Then you have these small alternate storylines. Not the storyline where you have Terrence Howard, but you have Rooster taking over the club. Then you have Andre on the side trying to make it, and maybe a small love interest that doesn't take over the story. But
basically they're competing with each other over screen time in their own movie.
Yeah, and so the movie is just cleaved in half and just kind of doled out, and it just none of it. It's like the editing that story is impossible because you're flipping every once in a while. Like Robert Altman had trouble doing it. I don't think this first-time director was
known for music videos with quick edits, and it's like 3 minutes to tell a story.
Yeah, he was in way over his head from the start. Like this movie. Let's keep going. I don't know what even happens next.
Well, it's so fucking convoluted. Okay, so Rooster has a wife and 5 fucking children.
Yeah.
But he's also sleeping with Sunshine Ace, Faison Love's character's lady. So he sees Terrence Howard's character kill the two big guys, and then but none of that matters. I skipped over that for a reason. There's that, but then,
I was thinking about, I was like, what does that even do in the movie?
Well, nothing really. The mistress has to leave town, and his wife ends up finding out that he was cheating on her, but kind of all throughout the movie that happens.
She already knew, yeah.
And I think it's basically just okay, Terrence Howard is running the hooch, Rooster is running the club. He doesn't want to pay Terrence Howard because he's a dick and he killed his mentor and his boss. So he runs his own line kind of on the side of him while still buying a little bit from him, so it's not too suspicious. And I don't know, eventually they butt heads and it becomes an action movie at one point, which is really fucking weird compared to the rest of the movie. And while all that's going on, Andre 3000 is trying to fuck this singer lady that comes into town that isn't who she appears. It's fucking tiring. It's fucking tiring trying to explain this movie.
It is. It's ridiculous. It's all over the place. I will say, I love when we get to see Andre 3000's room, and he wakes up in the morning like from a strange dream, and he sings a song about. And he starts off, it's about the fear of time or something, and it zooms up on his wall, and he has a wall full of cuckoo clocks, like at
there's
least
like 20.
20, and it looks strange, but it's with the song, so it just kind of feels like a music video. Later in the movie, with his love interest, they go back to his house, and to sleep together. And there is no point where she mentions, hey, you have a lot of clocks. Like, it is just like, this is a really weird thing, and you're playing it straight, and that doesn't make any sense.
That was so confusing to me, because I wondered how they would handle that, because obviously that's going to happen later, but yeah, she just doesn't even mention, like, oh, you got a thing for clocks, do you? Like, none of that.
No, and not only does she not mention it, the next morning when the sun's out, she's dressed, sitting in bed, like, stroking Andre's hair. They've apparently been talking for a while, and she says with a straight face, "What time is it?" Like, she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You are literally in a room that is made of clocks."
Well,
you do not.
Okay, so here's the thing about that. Like, there are some fantastical elements to this, and I'm wondering how much is reality and how much isn't, because it's hard to tell at times with how trippy this movie gets.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like maybe the cuckoo clocks are more just like in his head or something, because time is holding him back, like the song said, because there are so many weird aspects of this movie that we see, and it's usually CGI and shot weird, and then like no one ever mentions it. Like no one ever mentions like the whole rooster thing, no one ever mentions the cuckoo clocks. Like pretty much anything that involves a weird trippy musical number might not really be there or be happening. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said,
it's so much like Graffiti Bridge.
I mean, I really feel like it's more like Moulin Rouge, except they wanted to tell a real, like, they inject too much reality into this movie that should have been way simpler than it is. Like, the whole gangster angle is horrible and just drags the movie into this far too realistic territory for what they're trying to accomplish.
Well, that's the thing. Pick a tone. Either go silly music video, alternate reality, everything's weird and trippy, or go for a straightforward, like, bootlegger action, get the bad guy kind of movie. Like, it does both, and it switches back and forth without giving us any, like, inclination of what's going on. So we never really know.
No. It's weird. I will say the other weird thing is all the songs in this movie, it's as if they mostly wanted the songs to be diegetic, but then at the same time there were a couple that they couldn't fit in, so they just start singing them, like the clock song that he just sings in the morning, which I couldn't put my finger on why it felt so weird. I was like, oh, because every other song in this movie is coming from a band playing, or it's actually playing within the scene. This is...
Yeah, every other song is just an OutKast song. Because that's the other thing that's kind of funny about the movie, is that, like, they set up this whole, like, 1930s bootlegger kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, then Big Boy gets up there and just raps an OutKast song to the crowd, and everybody loves it. And everybody's, like, breakdancing in the crowd and shit.
Yeah. A lot of sequenized... What am I trying to say?
Synchronized dancing?
Synchronized dancing. Yes, a lot of that in the movie. Also, another strange thing that I didn't notice until about an hour into the movie, when we first see grown-up Andre and Big Boy actually talk to each other, they have almost identical facial hair in this movie.
Huh.
They both have goatees and mustaches, just Andre's is a little bit longer of a mustache.
Yeah,
and he has a soul patch.
And the soul patch and the beard are a bit longer. Yeah, I guess that does make sense.
And it's strange that, like, it's not like, wouldn't someone point that out? Like, maybe we should, like, shave one of them. Like,
well, I guess it's easy to tell them apart because Big Boy wears the fancy suits, and Andre just wears like his little mortician clothes.
Just a little mortician boy in a big boy's world.
I don't know, it just seems so weird. It's hard to talk about this without going into specifics, but the specifics are so boring. Like, I don't want to go over every plot point in this movie because there are 700 of them.
There are. This movie just goes on for fucking ever. And it's so simple. There's a bad guy trying to exploit Rooster, and there's a love story between Andre and this girl.
While
But
Andre's trying to grow past his father, who holds him down.
Yeah. That it just goes in all these directions. There's oh man, the scene. Every once in a while, we follow Terrence Howard for a little bit, and well, only one time actually. But this one time, it goes back to like Terrence Howard's hideout, and a guy comes in and is trying to tell him something and can't quite get it out. And
he's a stutterer.
I couldn't tell if he was supposed to be stuttering or if he was mentally retarded. And then I felt weird because everyone is laughing at this mentally retarded man.
No, I think he's just like a huge like stutterer.
It was a little overplayed, and it came off very odd and very uncomfortable for that scene for me.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of very offensive, weird things in this movie.
Yeah.
Because there's also the other character that's more on the good guy's side. I think it's either Mark or Monk. I couldn't tell, but he's kind of like the fast talking, always borrowing money from everyone character.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
And he seems a little special as well. But he's a really good character. He made me laugh. Like he's definitely the comic relief character, and he does a good job.
Yeah, no, he was fun like the 3 or 4 times he's in the movie randomly.
I think my favorite scene with him, and one of my favorite scenes in the movie, is when Angel shows up, and she's supposed to be this famous singer, Angel Davenport, who we find out later she is actually not. She just kind of stole her identity. But she says she wants her own dressing room, and Monk goes into the dressing room that has a bunch of the dancers and everything, and just starts breaking things and throwing everyone out and yelling at them. That was such a good fucking scene.
It was, and it would have been a lot better in a movie that actually had that tone to it. Unlike this one.
It's like half slapsticky, half serious, half trippy musical thing, and half like serious action movie.
Yeah. Fucking
and if you're
weird.
keeping count, that's 4 halves. That does not work for one whole.
The OutKast is horrible at math. Was the problem they had from the start of this? I love when Angel. Angel is not actually Angel. She is her.
What's her name? Like Susie B. Susan or something like that.
Who the fuck cares? She's pretending to be someone else that is actually famous, and she goes up to sing. And Macy Gray and before this, we find out that the real Angel that she is not was Patti LaBelle. Which for a second you're like, oh, so Patti LaBelle is gonna sing in this movie. That's gonna be cool.
She doesn't. They don't give Patti fucking LaBelle a song to sing in this movie. That fucking blew my mind that they did not use that opportunity.
I mean, after you see Macy Gray, you're like, oh, I wonder if they're just gonna have a bunch of like, because there's not a white person in this movie, which I think is really cool. Yeah. And I thought it was just going to be this whole black empowerment thing. They're just going to have all these black stars.
There are a couple in the background in a couple of scenes, but no actual like speaking characters.
Yeah, which is really cool, this whole black power statement. And you think, oh, maybe they're just going to bring all their friends and just make this huge like hip hop, like music community movie about empowerment and lifting up. No,
that movie, movie was called Breakin'. We've already seen that.
They were like, guys, we don't want to tread on breaking territory.
Yeah.
We can't
save the community center. We can't go that route. That can't be the goal.
Okay, what else do we have, guys? And I will say also in the Idlewild album, both Lil Wayne and Snoop Dogg make appearances on that album, but also don't get in the movie. They should have been there.
Well, see, that's the thing though, and that's one thing I'll commend this movie on, is that it does do the whole, like, try to be in a completely black movie, but it has such an amazing cast of, like, almost all of, like, the great, like, black talent that was working at the time. And it's incredible that they have that, but yeah, they just either underuse people or just don't use obvious opportunities, like having Patti LaBelle sing. Like, it's weird. I don't know what they were doing, but they do have a very good, list of talent working for them here.
Yeah, definitely. But what I was getting to is when Angel first sings the song that Andre 3000 wrote for her, which Andre 3000 works in very odd time signatures. And when he's trying to, like, just play the song on the piano and he's, like, trying to get her to sing it, it just sounds like he's hitting random chords. Like,
it sounds so bad.
It sounds so bad. You're like, what are you doing? And he's like, no, now you're getting it. Like, I don't... how are you supposed to keep up with what you're doing? Like, there's no obvious, like, you don't even have a metronome going.
But it's
and
weird
it just
because once he starts singing, it sounds perfect. Like, once they start singing, it
Oh, yeah.
sounds like it's supposed to. But before, I think maybe it's doing it on purpose, saying, like, the song doesn't work until the singing is added. But, like,
Yeah,
when they're
I
in that
guess-
scene and he's playing something and Terrence Howard starts, like, messing with him, like, boy, what the fuck are you playing? Don't play that. Play something I like. I was like, I'm kind of with them. I don't want to hear that anymore. It's not very good.
Yeah, it's not sounding great. But so anyway, Angel goes up to finally sing the song, and this is where Macy Gray drunkenly heckles her, and he's like, "You're
good.
flat, girl. Your dress is too sparkly."
Oh, use a star!
And the song is called "Moving Cool," and at first Angel is just kind of going over this interlude of saying "moving cool." She's like, "Just say, it's like, why did you say moving cool again?" Or something.
How many times you gotta say moving cool? Is this a whole song?
Yeah, that's it. It was amazing.
It's seriously, I think, the best use of Macy Gray in a movie. Which,
I
I mean,
think-
it's not saying a whole lot, but she actually really works well for this movie.
Oh man, there's this video of her, Macy Gray, playing a New Year's Eve show, like on this really bad, like badly put together New Year's Eve production, and she is so trashed, and it's like she reminds me just of this movie, and it's amazing.
This is just Macy Gray as Macy Gray. That's just what she's like all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Macy Gray was just there that day.
And also,
She
is
just
that why she
started
got put in
yelling.
so many movies? Like, because her singing career wasn't it just that one song, and then she just got in a couple movies because of it, and then I never heard another song from her. I didn't know she had like
No?
albums.
She made a theme song for this Nickelodeon cartoon called like Life with Ginger or something. I remember she also had that.
She's coming back. She's coming back.
She's due. Well, that was like 2003.
Coming back.
That's
About to be cool in about 2 more years.
Yeah, it's a slow climb to get to Nostalgia Town. And
Well, Missy Elliott just got there.
yeah,
No, never.
yeah, she did.
Oh, I was about to
get
say,
it.
like, did that just fall on completely deaf ears? Because
No,
I didn't
yeah,
watch the
the
Super
whole-
Bowl or anything either. I just heard about all of that.
Yeah, apparently Missy Elliott is famous again because she was on the Super Bowl and nobody knew she was still alive.
Well, yeah, and all the younger kids are just like thought she was a new artist that was
Yeah.
coming up. But I think I read like a tweet that she wrote, and she was like, "Oh Lord, you youngins, me and Paul McCartney."
yeah, that was a good one. Anyway, so back to this.
Why wasn't Missy
nonsense.
Elliott in this movie?
She
Was still relevant then.
Yeah, I bet her and
She would
OutKast
have
are friends.
exactly. She would have been a great like musical number to have in this movie.
Too. Yeah.
If this
man,
movie like cut out a lot of the bullshit and just like boring parts and had more musical numbers like what they had,
would've
I
been
wouldn't
amazing.
care if it was 2 hours. I would have watched the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah, no, it would have been great if they had just kept that absurdist tone throughout.
If they had that
just-
and some of the slapsticky humor, I could deal with that.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
good.
No, it would have made a much better movie than whatever the hell this was. I'm just going through my notes now, just reading off random things because who cares about the fucking plot? But
Well, that's the thing. I am completely off. I was off the rails like in my second line of notes, and now I'm just looking for like things I can say.
Yeah, yep. And there's this part where Andre 3000, like his dad's getting drunk. His dad's also a drunk, and burning his sheet music, and they're yelling at each other. His dad's like, "That's why your mom left." Or that's why your mom left me. And he's like, "Mom didn't leave you, Dad. She died." And his father looks genuinely surprised for a second, like, "Oh, like, that's what happened to her."
Well, yeah, that's the thing, and that's why like it. I mean, you can laugh at that, but that's actually a very powerful scene. Like, I think it is Ben Vereen that played his dad, but the way he plays drunkenly in that scene, and when like he actually breaks through like his drunken haze and like cuts him with like the reality of his mother being dead, like that fucking hit me, man. That was good.
Yeah, no, it would have been good if I wasn't so bored by that point. That's all I noticed was his just look of utter confusion on his face, and she died. Like this is new information to him. He was unaware. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I think around this time, what was it? Oh yeah, it was when Angel does start singing very well, and also there's a point where like it goes through a period of time. There's like a montage of different nights, and she is singing the same song every night. Like she's in this club for 4 weeks, And it seems like she's just singing the same song every night for 4 weeks, and that would not fly in a club like that. But that's how they do the passage of time. And basically right after this, it's a good point for like the movie, not even a good point to end, but I wanted the movie to end so bad at this point, and there was still 40 fucking minutes of movie left at that point.
Oh man, so much movie. And then we get to Rooster, and he has this shootout scene that's really strange because it's this really violent scene when like people just getting shot. It's like in a very really realistic manner, and it cuts immediately to a chase out rap video, or a car chase rap video.
Again, it's an awesome sequence, but it just doesn't fit in this movie. No, like the car chase thing does. That actually does kind of fit in line with a lot of the weird music video scenes, but the whole actiony like shoot 'em up scene before that, like that was fucking jarring and weird compared to the rest of the movie. Like when Big Boy like busts through the fucking door after getting shot and stuff like that before running away, like all of a sudden it became a fucking John Woo movie. Like if I saw a dove flying up in the background, I would have sworn that he directed that scene.
Yeah, and it's so it takes this really realistic tone, cuts right to a rap video / car chase, and then he just ends up going back to his club, which is another, like, it's more in line with the video, like the music video thing. Like, in reality, why would anyone go back to the place where these people are trying to kill him are going to expect him to go?
Yeah, because he does get away at one point, so it's not like they're just following him the whole way, but of course they know where he's going to go. But it leads to the big finale, so that has to happen. But I dug, like, the whole chase music video thing, but it just... After all that weird action, it just seemed like, okay, we're gonna have a song now? Okay. Basically, the whole last like 30 to 40 minutes of the movie, that's what I kept saying. I was like, oh, it's time for a song now? Really? Is that okay? Do what you gotta do.
If that's what's happening. And then, so Terrence Howard shows up at the club. He gets shot, but first he shoots Angel. I love that when Angel is dying and Andre 3000 kind of has her in his arms. He's like, I've got a new song. It's just like, really? Is now the time for you to be coming up with songs? And then it literally cuts to a video of him singing this really good OutKast song called She Is In My Lap to a corpse. It's weird. It's
Percy, the character, is actually kind of fucking insane in this movie. Maybe it's all the years of like emotional abuse from his father and having to be around dead bodies and be a mortician, but he's kind of fucking insane. Like the way he talks to the bodies and the way, during that song especially, like it gave me the heebie-jeebies, I gotta say.
Yeah. And after he sings to her corpse, he decides he's going to kill himself.
Which is weird, okay, because this is a callback to a scene earlier in the movie about it, like a dream he had or something like that. Or there was some weird flashback thing or flash forward, I guess. But I thought it was his dad. I thought it was Percy's dad that like shot and hung himself because it looked like he did both. But then apparently he was just seeing his own future of him trying to hang himself.
He was flashing back to watching Purple Rain. That's what it was.
Oh my god, it's exactly like the flashes in Graffiti Bridge.
Exactly.
Okay, so Idlewild and Graffiti Bridge would make the perfect double feature of ridiculous, insane boredom. If you feel like laughing, being mildly entertained, not impressed with some of the music, and just bored out of your mind, this is your double feature.
Oh man, you will hate yourself after sitting through that 4 hours or whatever it would round out to.
Yeah, it's been a rough 2 weeks for us here at Crush Celluloid.
Yeah. And I do love that. So it all ends. Percy's gone on. He's making better music now, or good music.
He's basically. I guess he's out in Chicago, and he's doing like a Broadway kind of show thing. He has a bunch of dancers. See, and that's the thing. It's like he has a career, but he doesn't seem distraught or like making sad songs because of Angel or anything. He's just making happy-go-lucky songs and sticking his face in the crotch of a bunch of dancers he has around him and stuff. Like he seems like he's doing just fine.
Well, you have to get over it at some point. But my favorite thing is that for no reason I can see, Rooster has a picture of Angel in his house. It's just like, is that just to kind of tie this together further?
No, that's not Rooster. That the last thing when they cut to the picture of Percy, and then the picture, and the second picture isn't Angel. I don't think. I think that's his mother. I think that was his father in the house hanging up a picture of Percy, and then it pans over to show the picture of his mother to show that his dad is proud of Percy and accepted his mother's death.
Oh, okay.
Come on, pay attention.
And Rooster,
we're only 2 hours into the movie. Can't you pay a little bit of attention?
And you know what the big payoff to all this is? Rooster ends up making champagne. The end.
Yeah, that's it. Rooster makes champagne. And then we get not one, but 2 musical numbers in the credits. Of still just... And I thought, it's not even like Andre and Big Boy. It's just Andre doing more musical numbers on stage with his piano and shit.
The strange thing is that even on the Idlewild, like, the CD, the album, those are 2 of the last songs, and they are pretty tonally discordant with the rest of the album.
Absolutely. They sound like credit songs, but not only that, I realized that we did not get one song in this movie where Andre and Big Boy performed together.
No.
They are the band. They are OutKast. Like, how can you not have one song in the OutKast movie where OutKast performs together?
Well, technically, they had made a whole album where they hadn't done that with a Speaker Box and the Love Below, a double album, technically.
Oh, so is that, like, each one of them got, like, an album in that? It was a double album.
Yeah.
So I guess that's maybe what inspired this? Because they had clashing styles and each wanted to do their own thing? But still, like, in an OutKast movie, like, you want to have at least one where they come to... Yeah. That would have been perfect at the end of the movie, or, like... during some kind of big finale thing, they actually come together and perform a song. Like, that would have made sense.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things that would have made sense to do with this movie, none of which they did.
Yeah, none of which happened. But I'm sure someone said it at some point in time. I'm sure they had plenty of good ideas. They just decided to ignore them.
That is pretty much it. They flew
I think
someone
Prince was
in.
An executive producer on this movie, and he kind of took over.
He acted as creative consultant. He said, guys, don't ever let anyone tell you what you're doing is wrong. That is a one piece of advice I can give to you.
It's like, believe me, I've been through this. You've seen my movies. You know how to do this.
You know how the Hollywood machine likes to tear up us brothers when we make works of art. Yeah.
This is going to be a short episode. I really don't have much of anything now.
No, I think we're done. That's Idlewild. It was Idlewild.
I don't know, like, if someone's willing to make a fan edit and cut out all the fat, I would recommend this movie, because it does have some really good stuff in it. It's just fucking draining to watch the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I'd recommend listening to the album. Really great album.
I actually will check it out.
Yeah, really.
Well, I guess
really
I'll get
surprised.
Speaker Box too, so I can actually hear songs from the movie.
Oh, OutKast, how I love thee, but how I hate your boring movie. Maybe there's something golden in all that B-roll you left on the floor, but one can only dream. We'll see you here next time at Celluloid.